Hey everybody, I'm Dr. John Sperry joining you all today with Megan Ramsey and Dr. Rivera Mariani. We're in South Florida at Lynn University, and we're excited to share with you a study that we've been working on and also have some next steps that we'll be working on in the fall. And our title of this iteration of the study is The Interaction of Music, Mood, and Physiological Biomarkers in an Adlerian-based group drumming intervention among college students, a principal component analysis. So today I'll be sharing a little bit about like the past, present, and future of the study, and then also telling you a little bit about how this intervention works and briefly its connection to like Adlerian psychology and individual psychology. And then Megan will share with us some of the really the methodology side of the study. And then Dr. Rivera Mariani will also talk about some of the next steps and also some of the results of the study. But just a real quick connection to the theory of individual psychology is I see that the way and the nature of group drumming, bringing people together, where like when I do these group drumming circles, even outside of the framework of this study, I notice like participants have fun, they laugh, they connect with each other. We could have people in a drum circle that don't even speak the same language that could have this sort of common shared experience that for sure is typically pretty novel for people who haven't done this. So specifically in this study, what I'd see happening is I do a 45-minute intervention where there are structured activities where I get the participants to do a like rhythm or some kind of activity where they have to interact with each other and somehow contribute to some like community-based rhythm. And what our study is going to be looking at are some of the health biomarker changes as well as like the mood and affect changes. In addition to that, we're also looking at social interest as a pre and post test measure as well. So this study is something that we're building off of that has been published in the Journal of Individual Psychology in a special issue on the crucial C's. And so we were invited to actually write this study up. And that this is something that if you want to read about this, feel free to check out the article here on group drumming and the crucial C's, the immediate effects of an Adlerian-based group drumming intervention on mood and social interest among college students. So now what we're going to be sharing today is what we've gathered some data in the past 2 years where we actually added a biomarker variable into the study.
I am Megan Ramsey, and I've been part of this research for a few years now, and I've got to watch it evolve. I am the data manager at this point for this project. This study, what we're looking at is investigating college students and how they respond to this drumming intervention, how Dr. Sperry talked a bit about. But we have an Adlerian-based drumming intervention, and these rhythmic interventions have been shown to have potentials for reducing stress, enhancing mood and well-being. So for this study with our data, we employed principal component analysis, or PCA, to examine patterns in emotional and physiological responses to the drumming sessions. This allowed us to look at underlying structures or the latent factors that show variation in participants' responses to the drumming intervention. Go to the next slide. Here for our methods. We recruited, for the data we have so far, 34 participants of both undergraduate and graduate students to participate in this drumming intervention, which is 45 minutes long. We, before and after the session, recorded participants' mood, social interest, self-reported, and then we collected physiological data, including blood pressure and heart rate and salivatory data that we're waiting on. But from this, we created a data set, including the mood change scores and the changes in physiological markers from pre-test to post-test, and engagement metrics, age, and prior musical experience we accounted for. Because of all the multiple components that we have, that's why we chose the primary component analysis to look at patterns in these responses and pinpoint which variables contributed the most. For group comparisons, we applied the Kruskal-Wallis test. We're looking at multiple groups here. And then we used the Mann-Whitney test for pairwise comparisons. We looked at the Cohen's test to evaluate the effect sizes and principal component differences.
Thank you, Dr. Sperry and Megan, for presenting the project and talking about the methods that we deploy. So building on Megan's description of the methods, and we identify some variables that were pretty much contributing to how the students were differently responding to the intervention, like feeling clumsy, how long they took to complete the post-session survey, the age of the student, and the academic classification. And also, we were able to pinpoint that if the student have prior music, they tend to respond differently to the intervention. So in summary, these findings suggest that not all students respond the same. So in short term, not it doesn't fit all the same way. So we had to zoom in a post study to see if this variable seem to pop out again, and what other data we can contribute to zooming into the study. Ms. Ramsey.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera Mariani, for getting into those results. The primary principal component analysis one captured a meaningful range of variation in how college students respond to the group drumming intervention. And these results are suggesting that as the factors that Dr. Rivera Mariani explained, age, musical background, their academic status, that all these things can influence how deeply that participants respond to these rhythmic interventions in the drumming session. Highlights how principal component analysis can be really, really useful in identifying hidden patterns underneath and how individuals respond to these complex psychosocial experiences.
So now I'm briefly going to transition us into our next steps of the study. Now that we'll be examining the data of the saliva samples we've collected so far, and then we'll also be collecting more of them. We're going to be implementing in fall of 2025 the next leg of the study, where we're hoping to get at least 100 participants to build on the 30 or so that we have so far. You can see a picture of a saliva collection kit here. That's quite fun to gather that, and having a whole bunch of these in our freezer and in our labs on campus is really fun. But yeah, Dr. Rivera Mariani made these fantastic charts to kind of show where we're going to be going with our next steps of the study. So take it away, Dr. Rivera Mariani.
Thank you, Dr. Perry, for showing the saliva kit. So as we mentioned before, now we want to validate our preliminary findings of the variable that we were able to pinpoint. So in addition to running again the same psychological measures of mood and social interest with a larger sample size, we also going to include into the mixture additional biomarkers that are known to physiologically explain the different responses to stress, like cortisol, other DHA, C-reactive protein, oxytocin, and glucose. And all these variation of biomarkers describe different systems in the human body to how they respond to stress. And with this variable, we're going to answer the following research question: do this variable, the psychological and physiological, do they contribute to explaining to how stress or mood is improved or not? With the intervention, how do these variables align? Meaning, how do the emotional and physiological responses align to explain the differences in the students responding to the intervention? And how do these variables mix together to pinpoint like a reactivity profile? Now we're going to try to explain more mechanistically the reactivity profile beside the mood and the social interest. And with this one, as we mentioned before, we're going to identify what are the patterns physiologically and psychologically that we can identify to move forward the long-term goal that we're going to explain shortly. And next slide. So here we see like the statistical strategy that we're going to implement. So we're going to collect these psychological measures as before in the previous cohort. And we're also going to collect the series of biomarkers that we are going to propose to measure in the saliva sample. And we're going to do that before and after the intervention. And we're going to execute exactly as we did before with the statistical analysis. We're going to implement the multivariate analysis to identify the variable with the principal components analysis. And based on that, we're going to zoom in into the specific variables that contribute to differentiating the reactivity profile of the students.
Thank you for that, Dr. Rivera Mariani. So long term, where do we want to go? With building upon this data and running more of these interventions, we would like to eventually be able to create a practical, implementable, music-based intervention that's cost-effective, that we can integrate into campus wellness programs to provide support for college students who are diverse in their population, and something that is easily implementable to help with enhancing well-being. Thank you very much for listening to us explain our research project. We are very excited for the next steps.